Okay, so liberation.
Anyhow, going with the story, my brother, he was really just down to zero. Very skinny. And I was still having a little juice, a little bit, not much. And then I was starting to realize that we are in a different world. We were liberated. They started to bury the dead at the camps all over. Of course, we were already about 60 kilometers away from that camp. But that was our liberation. Took us quite a number of months to get back to normal.
Your feet.
To be normal.
You can walk.
I remember my Hebrew school teachers, who had several children, his son was with us. A young man, just like we were, kids. And he was so sick. I took him in several days later. But what happened, people were grabbing food, meats and all kind of food. They were telling us not to eat meat or anything heavy because our stomach cannot take it.
Yeah.
And I suppose my Hebrew school son, I believe his name was Human, something like it. He was eating something heavy. He got very sick. I took him in and I left him there, to a clinic, to a temporary, the established clinics. He never came out. He died right there. A young kid. Of course, that time we were all young kids.
You were 17, Mike? 18?
I was that time, I turned 18 in the camp. When they took us in May, in June I turned 18. And that time I was already 19 when we were liberated. Not exactly, a little short of 19. Yeah, it's quite an ordeal.
What were your thoughts when you first entered the camp? Did you know how serious it was? Because I hear stories about people going in and thinking that when you first went into the camp, did you know that it was a big, did you know that it was the Holocaust? Did you know that it would be a lot of death when you first went in? Or how was it when you first got in?
When first we got in?
Yeah.
To the Holocaust, to the camps?
To the camp. Did you know it was that?
Did you have any idea where you're going?
Well,
Yeah.
for some reason, we were not exactly informed. But we saw German soldiers. First we saw Hungarian army, gendarmes. They were wearing big feathers on their head. And we saw them first. And then naturally after we saw the German army. And they were handling us brutally, beating people. We had to stand in line for hours. They were beating people, so we saw we were not in a pleasant situation. And naturally the food they gave us was terrible. And what else can I tell you? It was a miserable situation, right through. You were living out your days like a dog every day. We were under their mercy, and we had to do what they ordered us to do, because they were not hesitating to kill you. Their job was to kill Jewish people. Jewish people was their main enemy. They concentrated more on Jewish people than on their war. We were their main enemy. And I would say they done a hell of a job. To killing 6 million people, that was something. Of course, the history tells that the Germans, they were killing over 100 million people. Unfortunately, we made up to 6. Yeah. You know, let's see if you would get lost in the wilderness in a terrible cold country. You wouldn't feel that you are too cold because you want to survive. And you want to survive. And we were concentrating very hard to survive. And we just wiped off the other things came by, cold or hot or. Yeah. Of course, we will have, when we go to the high school, we're going to have a huge story to tell. Because from day one until the end, we could sit a whole day and talk about the Holocaust, which one, it's not our favorite subject. But if you want to know exactly how we outlive day by day our life under that kind of condition, was something unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah.
When you first went in, or when you were there, did you feel that you were gonna get out? I know you said that you didn't feel that you would get out.
You mean that we're gonna get out? Well, to tell you honestly, I was very sure on myself that I'm a survivor. And we were, like everybody else, we were hoping to survive that ordeal. You know, we were well informed and very knowledgeable, like this war cannot last forever. And before they took us to the camp, already we were informed, like the Nazis, they were losing territories. They lost Africa. In Russia, they were in deep trouble. And we had a big hope that they're gonna destroy them before they destroying us. Which when it's happened, but then, you know, the Germans, most of them, they were not Nazis. But the 20% maybe who were Nazis, they terrorized the other 80%. And even when we were digging ditches at a factory, digging ditches, was some German soldiers who they were with the Luftwaffe, with the Air Force, not SS. They were always bringing some little bit in their pocket and throw it down to us. And even once we met a German soldier who said to us, "It soon will be over." You know what that was? That word was valuable like the weight of diamond. And he says, "Soon will be over." So they gave us an idea. He gave us an idea. But we didn't know how soon. And of course, we saw day by day the Allied planes flew over. Hundreds and hundreds of planes. And we heard a terrible thunder. They were bombing cities. It was so, you never hear such a shaking, the ground was shaking. They were bombing nearby cities. I would say by that time the Allies, they had enough inside information where they have to bomb. They had spies all over. They couldn't just come up. Like for instance, in one case, when I was in Mauthausen, the Germans came to pick out people who had still a little bit Jews. They took us to a place, that time Austria, I mean Mauthausen, it's in Austria. And they took us to a place they call St. Pölten, which was a small city. And there was a railroad station where all the trains went through. There are the trucks running through from all four sides. And they bombed that place so terribly, the Allies. When we got there, we saw ditches like, they put the biggest bomb possible. And they took us there to fill back the craters, what they created with the bombs, the Allies. We filled that back and laid the track. We were laying first the lumber, you know, the planks, and then the track on the top. We have to carry it, you know. Mass of people were carrying the big track, which one was maybe 20, 30 feet long. And we were working there for 1 week. Of course, my brother, Ted, he was left behind in Mauthausen because he was skinny. He wasn't needed.
Finger sandwich. After you have some coffee.
Thank you.
Okay, she makes her coffee, so leave it for a while.